Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to World Online Racing. WOR back on Monday nights for the first time on F1 2021 on the Xbox platform. It's a pleasure to be back here. My name is, of course, George Morgan, your commentator for tonight's action. And alongside me, a new face here on the Xbox at top tier. His name is Bradley Chambers. Bradley, welcome to Xbox here on WOR.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here joining you in the comms box tonight for the social race. We're starting off with Xbox on WOR. It's brilliant. This is the first bit of online action we're getting on Xbox. And I'll tell you what, I'm really excited for this because we've got some top names in this lobby today.
We certainly do. Some of the best in the business on the Xbox platform. Remember, last season, we saw it all lift off. It was a true battle, and it was Antoine who managed to clinch the world title in the previous season in dramatic fashion. He has now since moved over to the PC platform, where he's pulled off some really tremendous performances. And, of course, myself and Andy got to commentate on one of Antoine's performances yesterday, where he was fighting at the top end. Unfortunately, it did not go quite his way, but nevertheless, good to see him competitive on that platform. Antoine Desilewski, a star for the future. But nevertheless, we got plenty of young pretenders looking to try and notch themselves up a further step, and no better place than the $1 Million Circuit, Bahrain. It's absolutely scintillating here. The sandy circuit here in the outback of Sakhir at the international track is going to be tremendous. Lots of twisting sections, but Sector 3 seems to be the more cursed point on the circuit. Plenty of opportunities for oversteering there, Bradley.
Absolutely. You can have a bit of trade-off on the setup. Obviously, we've got some long straights and you want to be going at least alongside down into the braking zones into turns 1 and 3. So obviously, you've got to be really careful there. But with the trade-off through the corners, especially the fast right-hander at turn 13, well, 12 as well, it's very easy to understeer. You can maybe even clip the curbs on the exit. And you know what the curbs are like on this game? It could go all so wrong so quickly for some of them.
Yeah, we saw it on numerous occasions yesterday, in fact, and unfortunately it led to an unprecedented spin for Smasher, who was leading the way heading in on the final lap. He'd overtaken, made a series of overtakes towards the end on the alternate strategy. And certainly we saw on the PC platform that many opted to go on the hard tyres to start the race with. And in fact, it turned out to be the real moneymaker for Smasher up until the final lap, where he took turn 13, lost the car, and went for a merry-go-round ride. Indeed, yes, he did certainly spin. And Tino Nakarunen, as a direct consequence of that spin, ended up taking victory. The Finland driver getting his first win in WOR colours. What a way to do it as well. But we're going to look forward to this one, folks. We will go through some of the grid numbers as well. Looking forward to seeing who's going to be lighting the grid up, certainly the classifications, who's going to be tickling the top end. We want to hear from you as well, folks. Make sure you leave either your comments in the live chat. We want to hear, who do you think is going to be on pole position for the start of this race? But not only that, you can also tweet your opinions at WOR League. Of course, that is World Online Racing's official Twitter account. You can also tweet me. I'm at George Morgan TV, and you can find me on there. Feel free to follow me, message me, comment to me, tweet me, poke me. I have no problem with that. You can also check out Bradley as well. Now, what's your Twitter handle, Bradley?
Twitter handle is at VSG_beacon.
There you go.
So yeah, feel free to send me any message there.
Yeah, literally spam his inbox, folks. You'll love it. And we're now about to go out onto the track to commence. I tell you what, our first race here on Xbox this season on a brand new game, and a very staunch grid, a full grid of 20 drivers. And I have to say, all of them very talented. Any eye catchers for you, Bradley?
Well, where do you start with this grid? Obviously, we've got Ron Hart, the qualifying maestro on the last game. Will he be able to keep up that one-lap pace? What we've seen on time trials so far is it's not in much doubt. Question is, when the pressure's a little bit more on, will he be able to deliver? You also have some really quick drivers in there. Rozzy, who has promised me on Twitter already to put on a good show tonight, so we'll keep an eye on him as well. And it should be really interesting. Alex Deeger as well, Connor, Humperdinck as well. It's so many good drivers, Jonas and Viper. It's a good... There's going to be a good sort of top half battle, I think, going on here. And then, again, the midfield battle should be pretty close as well, so there's a lot to look out for today.
Yeah, definitely. There's a huge amount to look out for. We got plenty of top quality names here at this circuit, and there's this man as well, Choco, who's making his way around the next right-hander, and very shortly making his way through the twisting sections of turn 5, 6, and 7, before then reaching the corner at turn 8, where you're almost turning back on yourself before you head down towards turns 9 and 10. But Choco there in P1, and he'll currently stay there as long as he puts together a nice fast lap. You've also got Chili out there as well, Shazoo Chili, who's been making a real name for himself himself in the Black Arrow, known as my moderator on my Discord, but at the same time, a real improver on the F1 game, and Shazoo have taken him on board as part of the Academy team, and he looks like a real force for the future. At only a young, tender age, he will certainly grow to become a truly formidable foe for many on track, so do watch out for this one. He is a very, very solid improver. But we've also got the old favourites, Flying Rozzy, WR Raceway, including the likes of WR Nico, as well as Ronha, who has been around for many seasons, TRL Martin, many would consider a favourite here tonight, as well as the Humperdinck as well, one of the admins here at WR, Connor, Alex Dagu, who's been around, and so's Viper and Jonas. It's a very, very much a who's who of the Xbox community here, Bradley.
It absolutely is, and all of them are going to be trying to get any early advantage that they can on this game, try to assert themselves as one of the drivers to beat. There's a lot of support for Choco in the chat, so let's see what he's able to do on his hot lap, obviously. And Chili as well, there's a lot of support for him. Of course, you mentioned him joining Shazoo Academy. I was surprised he went into the Academy, but I guess that's more of a new signing sort of thing. Oh yeah, that was bad from Choco.
Yeah, he took a real slide there heading out, and we have spoken a little bit about the handling model yesterday, and of course the loss of traction that's very easy to occur, certainly around a track like Bahrain, a sandy circuit. It can cost you a lot of grip, as now Chili makes his way down towards turns 9 and 10 in the Black Arrow, and certainly there, no stranger to P1 glory as well. Of course, Jana Watmir donning those very colours this season, and of course for this season's F1 Esports as well. Of course, a champion for Alfa Romeo Sauber in F1 Esports last season, and of course we saw him take the PSGL crown as well, and he will be joining the WOR grid as well on the PC side. So this time Chili will be donning those very same colours, but can he draw out the same type of performance? That is the question, and certainly as he makes his way down towards the final couple of bends at turn 14 and 15, and certainly Shazoo Chili looking to try and notch the first time on the board. I'm sure we will see something respectable, certainly a great banker lap as the DRS opens up there for Chili with a 125.759. Now, the fastest laps we saw yesterday were in the early 124, so a respectable banker there from Chili, and he can only improve from there, Bradley.
Absolutely. There's a lot of improvement to be made in this session as we go on, but honestly, looking through the grid so far, I've seen so many drivers spinning, especially coming through the first couple of corners and coming onto the back straight. A lot of yellows popping up. I think Alfie's gone for one already as well, so there's a lot of pressure on these drivers early on. They've just got to try to get a banker lap in, keep those tyres in good conditions, ensure that they'll be starting at least around the midfield, and then see if they can improve a couple of rows from there. But we'll have to see how it does go. Digu setting a slow first lap. I'm sure he's going to improve, no doubt on that, as the session goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Silas crosses the line and moves up into P2, and pushing that Alpine up there as well on the front row of the grid alongside Chili, who's still yet to be toppled, so a very good start from him as Flying Rozzy comes across the line to commence his fast lap. Further down as well, we got plenty out on track. Ronha as well, one of the old favourites, making his way down towards turn 4, and let's ride on board with this man. Of course, he is also one of the staunch guard from WOR and certainly Xbox Racing historically, and has battled with the best of them, and certainly a foe, and certainly one to be reckoned with as he makes his way down towards turn 8. You can see there the brake tyre marks as they round that auspicious bend. It can be so easy to lose traction. We've seen so many overs here, and as I say that, there is a Mercedes in the wall as well. Is that TRL Martin? It was TRL Martin round out of turn 8, and he's actually opted to move alongside. Whether that's a retirement, I don't know, but certainly whether he's just trying to let a few cars by before he rejoins, I'm not quite sure, but not a great start for him. But we're now going to join Ronha now as he makes his way through the last stages of Sector 2 very shortly into Sector 3, and he will make his way around turn 13. Choco takes the fastest lap so far with a 125.725, and just under half a tenth, or should I say a quarter of a tenth faster than Chili, as we're now seeing the Haas make its way around the final two bends at 14 and 15. Ronha looking to light things up here at WOR in qualifying. DRS opens up for the Haas, goes up into P6, wasn't able to tickle the top end, but nevertheless, a banker lap has been set. You do expect these guys to be a lot faster, as Alex Dagu is also around. Lots of these cars struggling with the grip here.
Absolutely saw Rozzy as well. He went around in that McLaren starting his lap. But look how close it is, even on the banker laps. We have, what's that, about three 3/4 of a tenth separating Choco all the way to Ronha in P6. And at the moment, with how unstable these curbs are and the handling model, again, mentioned, it's so important on this game. Hopefully, these drivers will, as the game goes on, sort it out a little bit more. But it is a lot of entertainment in the early stages because at the moment, it's really unpredictable because the curbs are a bit of a lottery. But we've got to see now, Rossi, he's actually validated his lap after that spin. So let's see if he gives it another go. I think he might. So he's obviously got enough fuel in this car. I think quite a few probably coming out with a good amount of fuel. Oh, Degu's round as well. There's a lot of cars going all over the road out here.
Well, the big question is, what is that going to mean for the actual race? As we now see that Viper is out on track as well. Remember, he was one of the star performers in Xbox last season. But yeah, you're quite right, Bradley. Obviously, when we get into the race, though, what is this going to mean? Obviously, with them struggling with the traction and coming nose to tail, certainly battling out on a track. And when you lose traction, of course, that puts many at risk. Naturally, we've seen them all turning off at crazy directions right now, and certainly I think one of the more poignant points is going to be this middle sector, certainly heading around the likes of turn 8, heading down into turn 9 and 10, where of course it's very easy to oversteer at this part of the track, not to mention turn 13 and sector 3 as we discussed. How are these guys going to manage this? Because obviously they're racers. That's going to be the mentality. All they're going to worry about is driving fast, overtaking. But naturally, when there are other mysterious forces at work, for instance, when you get oversteer and understeer, what can that mean, certainly in a race context? So are we going to be seeing some of these guys letting off slightly? Or are they just going to go and gamble heading into this race?
I think we're going to end up with a bit of a mix. The drivers who maybe hit a bit harder in quali might give the corners a couple extra centimetres just to stay off those curbs a little bit and just leaving a little bit on the table. Whereas others who maybe haven't really experienced many of the issues, they're just going to keep going for it lap after lap, and then eventually it could bite them. But it's so important you mentioned the race because, you know, in the heat of battle, when you are side by side with another car doing cutbacks and you've just got to negotiate this other car, you also have to negotiate the curbs because it's so easy, especially on the last game. You could maybe get into a false sense of security, got in your mind that you're allowed to ride those curbs. You try it on this game, try to go around to someone on the outside, you're braking on the curb, you could end up flying 100 meters off down into the barrier. So it is a big thing that the drivers have got to readjust to on this game. And it's going to be really entertaining to see who can hit it first. But I think, yeah, there's definitely a lot of drama coming in the race if the drivers don't sort it out too quickly.
Yeah, we've already lost Flying Rossi now. He's retired from the session, so no more or anything will be set from him. He only set a lap out. I have to wonder whether that was an incident because he is, of course, now out of qualifying. A retirement there already. Viper, while we were having a discussion there with regards to the traction, has now lit things up with a 125.021, so he's gone 7 tenths quicker here on the track as Desi comes across the line and goes into P2 with a lap time that's still 6 tenths away from where Viper is. So Viper finding extraordinary pace as now we see Chile making his way down towards turn 1. TRL Martin is also out and about on track 2 and of course is making his way down into turn 1 as well. Certainly him and his teammate Chile maybe working together to offer a little bit of a tow perhaps and giving each other a little bit of a helping hand as they make their way through this qualifying session. Still plenty to set lap times. We of course haven't seen anything from Raceway yet, who's on an out lap. So is Alfie, and we're also seeing the likes of Nico, who's yet to come out onto the track from the pit bay, and also Shuey Humperdinck still yet to field a lap time, as well as WOR Connor also in the Aston Martin. As now we witness TRL Martin make his way around turn 8 very shortly down towards turn 9, and we got a very competitive certainly Mercedes team. They're going to be very hard to deal with. Naturally, with TRL Martin's experience, he's been on the league scene for such a long time, a staunch professional, a great attitude, certainly a lot of presence out on a circuit such as this, so you'd firmly expect him to come and light things up here, certainly at WOR, certainly here at the Xbox Championship, as Humperdinck retires from the session as well. No lap time fielded by him or Rossi. Now that could be devastating in terms of what's going to happen in terms of the race as well. Certainly they're going to be starting from the back as now TRL Martin makes his way around the final few bends now, the final couple, should I say, 14 and 15. DRS opens up now for TRL Martin and the Mercedes across the line. That's P1 with a 124.963. The first 24 on the night, and what a great start for Mercedes as Chile notches himself up to P3 as well. The Black Arrows in the ascendancy.
That's a little bit more like it. The times that we were definitely more expecting to see. There's still a little bit of improvement as this session goes on, but I think for Humperdinck especially, it's again showing how dangerous this track is and how hard these curbs can bite. I think he lost it on the exit of turn 7. That curb could send your car flying in any which way, and I think unfortunately for him it sent him right towards the wall. But that was a mega lap from Martin, and for Viper as well. Those two very close on track, and look at that, you mentioned the experience from Martin. He pulled over to the left hand side on the straight on the exit of turn 10 just to get a couple of thousandths from the slipstream of the Haas that was going a little bit slower, and it is those marginal gains that is going to probably decide who's on pole today, or at least a couple of positions in the grid. So it's really good to see that the drivers are thinking that far ahead, and it is incredibly good to see when it pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a little bit of chaos there heading around Sector 3 as we see Jonas, who's currently at the back in terms of those who have set times, but he's making his way around the final couple of bends now, looking a little bit tetchy on the throttle there as he makes his way down the stretch now. DRS opened up. What can the Ferrari set? No improvement. A 1:31 is all he can do. 5 seconds quicker than his previous lap time, but I believe that might have been an invalidation. He's now coming around turn 1 yet again. You can see the two Alpines there who were certainly causing a little bit of a kerfuffle around those final couple of bends as well. TRT Caesar heading around in his Williams as well. One of those was FRA Shuey as well from earlier on. But as we look further up as well, Ronha has made his way up into P5 as well. Great to see the old guard coming back up through in this championship. Certainly TRL Martin lighting things up for Mercedes and looking in very good shape. But so's Viper, who is also a very tenacious character. I'm looking forward to seeing what Viper can do on this game, because I certainly believe that the new handling model will suit this man in the McLaren. I think the way he races, he's not aggressive, he's methodical, he's calculated, and that's certainly what you need to be to make your way around a game like this. So I can firmly believe that Viper is certainly going to be one to watch this season.
Absolutely. I remember commentating on him for the last 1 or 2 games now, and he's got such smooth inputs into that wheel. He's so smooth with his driving, and that is what you need on this game, so it does bode well for him. I'm sure he'll be loving the new handling model. You might be hard pressed to find many other drivers who are massive fans, but he looks to be making the most of it so far. And yeah, let's see what he's going to be able to do here.
Yeah, well, he's making his way down this long stretch now between turns 13 and 14. The orange McLaren, of course, has had very, very good season in real-life Formula 1. Of course, Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo coming off a phenomenal British Grand Prix for McLaren now, as we're now seeing Viper head down the long stretch now. What's it going to be? Is he going to topple the top end? He does! Bias flies eyelash at 124.927. Extraordinary stuff indeed. Just over half a tenth's deficit between him and TRL Martin, but what a way to do it. Jonas in all the carnage as well. He's managed to light things up and move up into P3. Chile now demoted down into P4, but Mercedes still up there with 2 cars in the top 5, but a very good lap time there from Viper, and certainly it just goes and coincides with with exactly what we were saying. He certainly seems to be enjoying this right now, and I firmly pick him as very much one at the top for this coming season. He certainly seems to be loving the handling model. That McLaren will not be too far away from the top end, as we're now having a little look further down through this grid. Shuey as well out on an out lap, as well as Alex Dagu, who is currently around the final couple of corners here. The Haas obviously looking to try and improve. A little bit slippy on the curbs. We did mention them, and he's actually going to bail into the pit lane, so not happy with that one. And it looks like we're going to have a moment's break while the cars actually fit new tyres on with the final few minutes left of quali. It's going to be a gunslinger of a finish here, Bradley.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex Duca, he invalidated that lap, I think, just right at the end. So he's just had to come in and abort it. So it does give him the chance. So just come in, strap a fresh set of tyres on, and then he can come out and give it another go. I think something that Dark Hill has mentioned absolutely correctly in the chat on the YouTube is that there's definitely some drivers out there who are maybe seeing how OP that alternate strategy can be when performed right, and could be going for it here, because there's a couple of like fairly bigger names, you know, well, especially Connor, and yeah, like Humpdick Rossi as well, who, you know, they're not too scared of doing the alternate strategy and giving it a go. I know, especially from racing Rossi several times, he is more than keen to get on a different set of tyres. He absolutely loves it.
He certainly does, and this man loves it too. Matthew Rees, who's currently in P5. for AlphaTauri, now making his way around turn 4. And of course, we've seen a lot of action in the past at turn 4. If you can remember, back at the very first race of the season where Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton came together, and Max looked to have the job done heading around turn 4. He took a longer line, ended up having to give the position back though, and Hamilton ended up taking the race win in the very first race of the Formula 1 World Championship. And that's certainly a very controversial corner, because when movements are made around there, generally you have to give them back. Certainly the game is a little bit stricter. You get a penalty instead, which is of course not a way you'd like to finish this race. Obviously the penalties do hinder one's performance, as we're now watching Matthew Rees head through the final sector very shortly. And of course the AlphaTauri certainly showing to be one of the more competitive of the Italian teams. Of course them and Ferrari have been battling quite a few times in the past season or so, certainly last season, where of course Pierre Gasly would win at Monza, taking the home race. And what a Cinderella story that was. Can Matthew Rees pull something off very similar here tonight, only at Bahrain, as he now cruises through the final couple of bends now, and soon to cross the line. What's it going to be for the AlphaTauri? He's going to remain currently in P5, and certainly I think he might have backed off there slightly. He's going to go around for yet another run, and he's not going to be alone. Plenty of cars out on track. We're going to be in for a firecracker of a finish here, Bradley.
We are, and Matthew Rees, yeah, but the issue he has now is that he's on slightly more worn tyres, so he's not going to be able to just get that peak performance from the tyres. But yeah, he's got to keep the car on the road, keep all four wheels pointing the right way. We've got a lot of cars backing off in the final sector, coming through the final corner. We can just see a couple of yellows popping up. But yeah, it's looking pretty interesting now. As well. I think that might be a mistake for an Alpine driver. I'm not 100% sure who that is there, but he's not moving. So yeah, that's interesting. But oh, there's a spinner. There's a spinner. I'm not quite sure who that was either.
No, I'm just watching now. Chile just crossed the line. 125.310 is all he can muster. W. O'Connor making his way around on medium tyres. A very bold move, very bold strategy. Certainly at this late stage of qualifying, to put on certainly the slower compound against those that are on the softs. I mean, that's pretty much going against the whole grid. But I suppose if you can nail a lap time on these, that will put him ahead of at least Shuey. But it won't matter, because you start on fresh tyres outside of the top 10. So a very interesting approach from the Aston Martin. If he gets into the top 10, of course, he'll be a hero. But we'll have to wait and see. Alfie's retired from the session. That's all he's going to do. Viper has lost it. Viper has lost it. He's retired from the session. He's out of the qualifying session. He's on top. But for how long? Because Tyrrell Martin, you can now see coming through the exact same sector, is also out on a fast lap. Can the Viper be toppled here at this late stage? WR Raceway has finished in P5. Matthew Rees, as we discussed, P7 is where he will remain, at least for now. We're now watching Tyrrell Martin around turn 10, heading down this back straight before he then reaches turn 11, and that's when he will then head up the high elevation part of the circuit, when you're cruising uphill and heading towards those real tight and difficult corners at turns 12 and 13, where things start to get a little bit harum scarum. Here comes the Mercedes now. The Black Arrow once again wants to take the top spot. As we said, this is where all of Tyrrell Martin's experience comes into fruition, as he now makes his way down towards turn 14 and 15. What's it going to be for the man they call Martin? Tyrrell Martin, to be exact. A little mistake on the curb. He crosses the line. What's it going to be? P3 is where he stays. Ron Haas stays in P2. What a move up the field from him. Bradley, scenes here at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin invalidating at the final corner of the lap. So close, and he was only 200ths down, even with the weaving and the mistake. So you'd think that would be a shoe-in for pole. Martin loses it at the final corner, and Rodha has just snuck his way onto the front grid.
We can hear you.
Absolutely incredible stuff indeed, and that is absolutely extraordinary, and to say the least. But I have to say, what a visit nevertheless. There you have it. There is your fastest lap, and it's gone to Viper. Despite crashing out on the final run, he in fact still takes P1 here in qualifying. Ronha with a P2, a mighty return here from the old guard. Martin, after just making that little error at the final bend, takes P3. Jonas P4. Nico in P5 with WR Raceway in P6. And there, of course, you got Chile in P7 with Matthew Reese in P8, Silas in P9, Desi in 10th, Lurch 11th, Choco in 12th, Alfie in P13 with Caesar in P14, Mr. Pigeon Munch in P15 with WR Connor in P16, Alex Daegu P17, Shuey in P18. Rozzy, of course, didn't set a time, neither did the Humperdinck. They're both starting from the back of the grid. But what do you make of that, Bradley? Absolute scenes here in our first qualifying session on the F1 2021 game on the Xbox platform. And certainly, it was a very puzzling one, wasn't it? But great to see the likes of Viper, who was competitive last season. He seems to be well adjusted to this version of the game.
Yeah, it's brilliant seeing it set up this race really well. We have 3 top drivers at the front end of this grid, and they are going to be vying for the top position all the way through the race. It'll be really good to see. And a quick mention for Connor as well. What he did was really clever. I think he saw, because around 11th to 12th, there was a fair bit of a gap from the top 10. He realised if he goes out on those mediums, he's probably not going to be fast enough to break into the top 10 anyway. But if he's able to sort himself into about 11th, 12th, 13th or so on, he's able to just start a little bit higher and still get the boost of the alternate strategy, and I think that's worked pretty well for him as well.
Interesting use of the compounds, but certainly it all works, and naturally he will be delighted. Certainly with the approach from that, and it will go a long way. Certainly for him in the future. It's going to be interesting, and I have to say I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Certainly in a race context, it's going to be obviously it's going to test the mindsets, test the maturity of a lot of these drivers as to how they manage this race. And you'd certainly imagine, based on what we've seen in qualifying, that certainly the former faces that we've seen in the past, such as Ronha, Viper, as well as TRR Martin, they're going to be up there. But great to see some very different names as well at the top end as well. WR Nico up there, for example, of course, signed to the World Online Racing Esports team. And what about Chile as well in his first visit in a very high quality grid? Certainly a lot of tier 1 numbers in here. He's currently occupying a P7 position. Interesting to see if he can take that pace and use it in terms of a race context. He could be one to look out for, certainly as an outsider heading into this race.
He definitely could. It's really interesting to see, you know. And yeah, let's have a quick look at the tyres as well, hopefully. So yeah, as you expect, actually, Mr. Pigeon Munch is going to be one to look out for on the start, because we're on the formation lap now, and he's decided that in P15 he wants to start on those medium tyres. That's an interesting call. Let's see if he'll be able to climb up the grid too far. But yeah, this is going to be a good race. There's some real fast. Oh, and Ronha's round already. He won't want to repeat that in the race.
Yeah,
That's not a great start.
We've seen a little bit of that already in this season, and naturally that's going to cause a little bit of a headache. Obviously, if you have collisions on the formation lap, that can mean a trip back to the grid, and you start on cold tyres, which is not the way you'd want to start a race. And certainly that's not, well, yeah, like you say, certainly not something you want to start with, because as you head off the line, you need to make sure you have the certain amount of traction available to you, that the tyres are up to optimal temperature, so you can get a nice clean getaway and head down towards turn 1 with certainly enough warmth in the brakes as well, in order to make sure that you get a lovely entrance and exit out of turn 1 into turn 2, because of course it's never been so prevalent. That corner at turn 1 is so key. Just to say, folks, if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you slap certainly a follow on the WOR League Twitter account, and also if you haven't done so already, please drop your predictions in the live chat. I'm going to ask you now, Bradley, as we now look at the cars about to form up round the final corner. What are your picks heading into this race?
I think Martin might have it. We saw he just had that quali lap, that pole lap potentially snatched away from him on the final corner of the last lap in qualifying. I think he's got a real race on his hand. He's got to try to overtake 2 top class drivers who will both have great race pace. But let's hope that he can give it a good go, because if so, I think we're in for a pretty good race.
I think we are, Bradley, and big shout out Dark Killer there, Viper win, Martin second, Connor third, some big names being thrown out there, and certainly we're going to be witnessing something very special as we're about to go red here for this very first race on Xbox. It's a privilege to bring it to you, folks. I'm looking forward to this one as much as you are. Very surely they'll be saying pedal to the metal, and we'll be back underway here for another World Online Racing season very soon. But obviously, this being a social doesn't mean it's any less prevalent. Here we go, folks. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, the fifth light. And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go. And Viper gets away extremely well there. A little bit of a tail shake from Ronha. That's obviously due to his tyres being so cold as they come into turn turn 1. Tyrrell Martin tries to take the outside line. Heading out of turn 1. The two Ferraris coming together. WOR Nico and Jonas fighting it out. Ronha holds on to P2. Look at Nico though. Matthew Reese has retired. He's spun around. So's Desi. We've lost them both around turns 1 and 2 and 3 as they're now hightailing their way out of turn 4. And LP takes a little bit of a movement off track. And there you can see further down, Chile drops out into P7. But absolutely incredible scenes at the start. Drama from the get-go. And already we're seeing cars flying off the circuit here.
And Silas and Chile are going side by side as well. Very dramatic start. Desi's also out the race. So he's making a move down the inside under braking. Down into turn 10. He's got that move done. So Chile keeping his P7 where he started. We're coming under a bit of pressure from Silas now. And look at Lurch already into 9th place. And on that hard tyre. So if he can keep close to this back. Oh, it's a big lockup for Silas as well. But yeah, this will be really interesting is when the crossover period happens. Lap after lap, the delta between the soft and the hards is going to be decreasing. But Viper has been able to keep the lead so far. Ronha, he had a shaky second phase of the launch there. And Martin, I thought he'd have it round the outside, but he wasn't quite able to get the move done and came under a bit of pressure from the Ferrari. What's happened with Rossi as well? He's in the wall, I think.
Yeah, Rossi in the wall. He's certainly down in the classification. Choco having a look on Mr. Pigeon Munch's Viper. Sends them around onto lap 2. Do not pay attention to the timing tower, folks. It's not lap 3. It's lap 2. But here comes Choco. And certainly heading things down towards turn 1. The Red Bull dives in on the inside there and cruises up into P2. But still wheel to wheel as they battle through. But Pigeon Munch has no answer. And certainly it's Choco who's moved up into that auspicious 6th place. He's now going to chase after Lurch as they round the next right-hander. Shuey is retired from the session. We've lost Desi as well. Matthew Reese out of the race. And that is an almighty 3 cars out already in this Bahrain Grand Prix.
Absolutely, it shows the drama of the starts and how hard this track can bite when it wants to. But Pigeon Munch, he hasn't got the grip. I thought he'd be able to hang it around the outside, but I think we've seen what we were discussing a little bit earlier in qualifying. When you're battling, he got his rear left on the curb on the exit of turn 1, and I genuinely think that was it. That was the last chance he had to keep that position, or at least go for it, because he couldn't put his foot down as much as he wanted to. He had a real wiggle, bit of oversteer on the exit, and that actually put him under a bit of pressure from Caesar as well, but that looks to have subsided for now.
Yeah, and we've also lost the Humperdinck as well, so that's an Aston Martin out of the fray. We've lost both AlphaTauris as well, so no more AlphaTauri in this Grand Prix as well, which is a real shame for them. They look to have certainly some very, very nominal pace. Certainly the likes of Matthew Reese looked pretty tasty heading around the first lap, but of course ended up getting, I think, in the midst of a battle as Viper once again setting the fastest lap of the race. He's very, very quick right now, but obviously we're still in the midst of a bit of a train as Tyrrell Martin still right in the rear of Ronha. Of course, Ronha be quite content to follow Viper around, at least for the first few laps. Don't want to use too much of that ERS energy. DRS is now, of course, activated in this race, so they can utilize that staying behind, but Martin looks far more dangerous than what Ronha does to Viper right now, so keep an eye on this one, folks. We're going to be in for a hellacious ride as they come through the next chicane, and as they make their way down towards turn 8, there you can see Viper leading them round in behind the 2 Ferraris, including that of Jonas and of course Nico. It's getting so tight at the top, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing yet more battling as we make our way through this race. Still plenty of laps left, 26 laps to go here, Bradley.
And I hope it's all going to be as exciting as it has been so far, because they're all really close. And I think Martin's using a little bit more of his ERS on the straight, because I just noticed going into turn 1, he's about 10% down on Ronha, so he's just really pushing for this. He knows it is race critical that he needs to get past Ronha as quickly as he possibly can if he wants to chase down Viper. It looked like Viper's able to get out a little bit of a gap. He might have a slight advantage on Ronha, but let's see with DRS activated if he can break that 1 second barrier. It's going to be a real hard ask, because dirty air isn't the biggest thing in the world in this game, compared to real life at least.
Well,
that could make it really difficult.
Well, here he comes now, Tyrrell Martin. Here he comes, the outside of the Haas there. Ronha has no answer for the man in the Mercedes. The Black Arrow punches himself up into P2 in great fashion indeed, utilising the DRS. Not only that, overtake on, manages to get the move done, but he might still be at the jeopardy of Ronha though. But no answer there from the Haas. He's going to stick behind in P3 position, but they've all notched together a 1.5 second advantage at least off Jonas in the Ferrari in P4, which is very vital. You'd imagine that these 3 will now pull away here, Bradley.
Jonas Jonas is right. I was just about to say, oh, he's in the wall as well. And is he out the race? I don't think he is. I think he's just survived it. That's very lucky, but he's definitely going to have some damage there, I'd think. But that's so unlucky for Jonas. I was going to say he was struggling with track limits as well, potentially losing him a little bit of time, but now he's just going to lose a lot of place. Oh, and a 10-second time penalty given automatically by the game as well. It's gone from bad to worse to disastrous for Jonas here. And now I don't think there's much redeeming from this race now.
No, not at all, and I have to say that is insult to injury, to say the least. But Chile now has managed to move his way up into P6, and naturally, as the DNFs have come in, he's kept it steady and knows exactly what his plan is. He's going to try and stay in the race, tuck in behind Raceway, and what an achievement so far. He's still in this race, but still a long way to go, and we know how pressurised these sorts of races can be. They're going at such pace, such speed, such technicality, as well as TRL Martin comes across the line and gets the fastest lap this time, and has actually brought the delta time in around 0.3 of a second, and he's getting closer and closer behind Viper, and certainly looks to have brought some of that quali pace that we saw earlier on to the table here in the race as well, as we're now watching them hightail their way down towards turn 4. Now, if you're Viper, Bradley, is it a case you've got to try and keep your eyes peeled, as now Jonas is the DNF as well? That's a massive 5 cars out of the race. Is Viper going to be cautiously looking in his mirrors, because Martin is looking very, very quick?
Hard not to, especially when it's Martin in your mirrors. Oh, and there's a slight lockup. Is the pressure getting to Viper here? He's gone a little bit deep down into turn 8. Let's see if that is just an issue of tyre wear, really, or anything like that. It's a lot of lockups I've noticed so far. A lot of drivers really struggling under braking in this race. But yeah, Viper, it's so hard to keep your eyes forward. When you have a car behind you, you know he's incredibly fast. You know he'll go for the move anyway. He's brave enough to give it a go. And you know that DRS is going to be oh so powerful down the straight. But you've just got to try to keep it together in the corners. Just try to eke out every 100th you can, and that is not how you do it. Viper running wide. I think he's really struggling with that front end now, and Martin just, you know, giving it a bit of a weave, just letting Viper know he's there, as we're now coming through the final corner, which will surely allow Martin. Viper again going a little bit deep, which means he can carry less speed through the corner, and then less on the exit as well, and Martin pulls out to the right hand side, and he's already ahead potentially even before braking, and he can cut back in, and Viper has absolutely no response. And that is a brilliant move from Martin, as now he has just got to try to build that gap out to over a second, or he can be in real trouble, and that is not how you do it. He's lost the rear end on the exit of turn 2, and Viper is going to go right back through.
Oh, great battling between those two. Viper retakes the lead here. What a staunch bit of battling between two of the best in WOR, certainly here on the Xbox platform. TRL Martin doing all he can to keep the Viper at bay, but with fangs out, Viper struck back and opened it up, heading out of turn 4 and made his way up into P1. Ronha also sitting in behind, just happily watching these two fight it out. And in further behind as well, Raceway managed to dispatch the Ferrari of Nico, and Chile is also looking to get a little bit himself. Was a little sloppy heading out of turn 10 though, and that's cost him a little bit of time, around about 0.5 of a second, as they now come up through the next left-hander. And I'm sure the battling is not over quite yet, because they're getting closer and closer all the time. There you can see TRL Martin still maintaining a 0.4 gap. He's better in sector 3, that's for sure, as they now bail their way down the long stretch before they reach this turn 14 and 15. The McLaren still holding on to that top spot, but the Mercedes is better, certainly around turn 14 as they come down the stretch. DRS will be active now. TRL Martin, no messing about. The Mercedes, the Maestro, TRL Martin down the outside heading into turn 1, retakes P1 yet again. Now make no mistake, he's not going to want to make another mistake and lose it out again, because Viper is there and waiting. They head down now this next straight. They got turn 4 ahead. Viper menacing, looking in behind, but he has no answer this time. TRL Martin with the grip round turn 4, and he leads in lap 7 of 29.
Oh, it is absolutely brilliant racing. And Martin, I think this time, now it's take 2. He's got to try to break that 1 second. I cursed him last time, but I think Viper's gone a little bit deep again. He's really struggling under brakes. And I think Ronha's going to want to make the most of this, because if he can try to get himself up into P2, the Viper's not quite able to strike today so far. But we'll have to see if he can get that move done. I don't think he is, because Martin, he just has the pace. He looks so calm and composed under braking compared to Viper. I think the front end is just not biting as much as he'd like. But something that's really important to note in the midfield is Pigeon Munch has got past Lurch now, and there's a yellow flag actually out on track. I think that's for one of the Red Bulls. Or is Rozzy out the race? There might have been a bit of contact. Yeah, no, Rozzy's actually just lost it.
Yeah, he has. He's totally lost it. He's DNF'd, and that's another retirement. 6 cars out of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Certainly struggles with traction, to say the least. And there you can see now Viper making his way around the final couple of bends now before they then reach turn 1 yet again. Tyrrell Martin still holding on to a very healthy gap. He's managed to draw clear slightly. Is it enough, though, to break out of the spell as he goes for a late break? Viper out of nowhere strikes again and moves up into P1, but almost like he let it happen there, Martin. He might try and get him back here at heading down towards turn 4. Here comes Martin now. No, he's happy to stay behind. We've seen this before. Tino Nakarunen did a very similar thing in the PC race where he opted to stay behind, did not want to make the move, but I have to say, quietly and content, Tyrrell Martin not defending that P1 spot. You have to wonder whether he's just utilising the DRS, just staying in tow, saving a little bit of ERS, heading right through the race, and then challenge once again for that P1 later on in the game.
It was almost like Martin didn't have enough ERS to defend with there. He was only on about 20% compared to Viper's 80. So I think Martin, he really did go for a push. He tried to break that DRS, and it was catastrophic that it didn't quite work for him. He's just got to sit behind for a lap or two now. Use DRS to his advantage. Oh, yeah, there's Nico and Raceway as well. Making the move, and Raceway getting the comeback. Really nice contact as well. And I think Nico might have got away without damage, but Chili's just going, thank you very much, and following his way through.
Yeah, and that's the art of being patient. Chile now waiting on the outset. He'll have a good go at Raceway. This could be a double. It could be double or nothing for Chile here as they come down towards the final couple of bends here in lap 8 of 29. It's been nothing short of exquisite. This battle between some of the best drivers on the Xbox platform. Bailing into the pit lane is Ronha. So's Chile. He's coming in as well. WR Raceway moves up into P3. Viper and Martin still heading out together on track at this moment in time. Mercedes opting for a different strategy. They're going to leave Martin out, take an early box for Chile, and maybe Martin will come in the next lap or so, but we're going to wait and see as they now make their way out to the next right-hander. Still in front is Viper, leading around Tyrrell Martin, but don't count them out. Only, they're under half a second the deficit, so still plenty of battling left to be had as we lose TRT Caesar as well. 7 cars out of the Grand Prix.
It's not going great for a lot of these. I think they're really... We have a full safety car as well. Full safety car. And that is absolutely devastating for everyone who's just come into the pit lane now. Well, that is really poor. And this is helping Viper and Martin and Raceway a lot.
Well, you say that. It could be massive for Chile. They've only just boxed. It means now they're on fresh, hard tyres. That can get them to the end of the race. Don't count them out. I have to say, as long as they can keep themselves up there and certainly above and beyond the others, you'd fully imagine everyone else coming into box, maybe even those on 8-lap-old hards. Chile making his way around turn 8 now. He could be in with a great chance, as well as WR Nico. They've pretty much been handed... Well, they've been handed a free stop, basically. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how close they get to the top end. We'll have to wait and see. Ronha, of course, now in P8. He's boxed, but he'll have a chance. We'll have to really wait and see. It's really thrown a spanner in the works here. And as they make their way down the stretch now, heading down towards turn 14 and, of course, 15, I've got to say, answers on a postcard, folks. Who's going to win this one, Bradley?
Interesting. Give me 30 seconds and I'll get back. Yeah, it's going to be good. This is going to see how far they come out. I mean, Viper should... Well, I think Mr. Pigeon Munch might... Oh, no, he's coming in the pit lane. He's coming to pit. So Lurch is going to be winning this race. He is going to lead from the restart because there's no chance he's coming in the pit lane anytime soon. But Martin does keep the lead, actually. Oh, Martin's got the lead from the pit stops and Viper into P2 as well. And that's pretty big. But yeah, Mr. Pigeon Munch comes in, Raceway. Let's see where Chile where Chile ends up when everyone else has come out the pit lane. Yeah, it's bad for Ronha. He's lost out to... Well, actually, he hasn't lost out to him. That's worked really well for Ronha because a lot of the hard runners have pitted.
Yes, it's worked out brilliantly. It's actually helped the guys at the top end. TR Martin, of course, and Viper have both been given a free pit stop. So's Ronha, technically. Chile's got a free pit stop. Nico came in at the right time as well. It was literally extremely well timed by all those at the top end, and it's allowed them almost to draw clear. And so now those on the mediums are going to have to try and pick up the pace. As I did say previously, no surprises. A lot of those who have already accumulated laps on their hard tyres have opted to come in in for a change onto the medium. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. In fact, that might have killed their chances in this race, because they're probably going to have to make another stop onto the soft tyres. Bear in mind, all those up in the top 8 can literally send it right to the end. So I have to say, unless you're really, really quick in the bottom, well, certainly from P9 down to P13, I tell you what, it's going to be a big ask for them to be heading into the top 10, or certainly the higher ends of the top 10, to say the least. But certainly the way things are strung out right now, this is TRL Martin's race to win right now. That is, of course, subject to Viper and Ronha, who are going to, well, I'm sure they'll have right on their minds to try and challenge for this P1 spot. But of course, Lurch can be a little bit troublesome as well, currently leading them around in P1 spot. But also, watch out for Chili, who has managed to gain himself yet another place. He's up into P5 after the pit stops. I have to say, it's a very tantalising affair, and it's going to be literally a slingshot right to the finish.
Yeah, I'm surprised so many of the hard runners pitted. I thought they'd leave it a little bit longer. Obviously, it's a free pit stop to an extent. It's very desirable. But I mean, we've got to see if those mediums can make it to the end. I mean, I'd be surprised. It's still 19 laps. I mean, when we get restarted, it'll probably be about 18. But that'd be really interesting to see, because, I mean, Connor and Alfie, if they can drive well here without too much issue, they could be the go. Oh, Raceway's pitting. So was Raceway already on the hard tyres? That's what's going to be interesting. Did he just basically come... okay, so what he might have done is been on the hards, come in onto the medium tyres, and then... yeah, this is interesting. We'll have to see what happens here, because, yeah, Raceway now on fresh mediums. He must be confident he can go to the end. So those medium runners, if he's just come back in and gone on to a set of mediums, he must be 100% certain he is going to make it to the end of the race.
Well, that's a big call.
You would think.
Yeah, it's a big call. Certainly, a lap 11 to 29, those mediums are going to be feeling very tetchy towards the end of this race. They're really going to have to try and utilise those mediums as best they can in the early stages. Naturally, they're going to have to manage them a little bit more effectively as they make their way through the latter part of this race. But Lurch still leading them round. TRL Martin, of course, Viper, they don't have to worry too much about their tyre compounds. Of course, getting these tyres to the end, certainly in these conditions, certainly with 18 laps, 17, 18 laps remaining, it's going to be pretty much a routine objective. But actually, with the hard tyres, there is a lot less grip in comparison to the mediums. So you have to wonder, certainly around a track like Bahrain, where it is a sandy circuit, naturally it can turn the car around very, very easily. We've already seen that on several occasions in this race. So do not be surprised, folks, when we see some more scary moments through the latter stages. Of course, I would say now that Lurch has got 10-lap-old hards. He's going to have to bail into the pit lane pretty soon. So the strategy is simply not going to work for him, I don't think, because he's going to have to box and jump on, I'd imagine, to a set of softs, which is not going to be very helpful for him, as we now witness some head around the latter sector in this race. Safety car is now in this lap, and so the certainly for when we take away on this restart, Bradley, certainly the way things are lined up right now, is it a case that TRL Martin wants to dispatch Lurch as soon as possible?
As quickly as he possibly can. He's a quicker driver, no offence at all to Lurch, and on fresher tyres. So he's got to get this done as quickly as he can. And hopefully, in his case, Lurch will hold up Viper a little bit, and maybe even Ronha as well, and they'll be able to break DRS. That is the ideal situation for Martin, but we have to see if that does come to fruition.
Well, we certainly will, as they round the final couple of bends now, and there's FRA Lurch, who's currently holding on to that P1 spot. Choco up there as well, who's obviously a retiree, I believe, or he's right at the back of the grid. I don't think he's actually in the car as they hit pedal to the metal and go for the restart. And Viper has managed to get himself a lovely position behind Martin. Got a lovely, certainly a lovely launch at the restart. Manages to make his way down towards turn 1 in exquisite fashion. They're still wheel to wheel, heading around now turn 2 into turn 3. Viper being joined by Ronha, 3 wide, heading down towards turn 4. They're brave. Who's going to gamble? It's the McLaren. It's Viper. He's struck. He's gambled. He's garnered. He's up into P2. TRL Martin down in P3. Ronha, who looked to go for the gamble, well, certainly the biggest gamble of all, has actually just stayed in P4. So they are as they are, but what a move from Viper. Calculated to perfection. Chili right in this race. Pigeon munching behind 2, and Nico as well to boot. But Viper still stuck behind Lurch, and we're now in lap 12 of 29.
Tell you what, for Lurch there's not better views to see in your mirror than those 3 drivers going side by side. You're just fearing a hit from behind at any moment, but I tell you what, it's a hell of a view. But there was a bit of contact between Ronha and Nico. Nico was trying to hang it round the outside, and then there was contact with the front right and the rear left. And I think chucked Nico on the curb a little bit, and he's lost out to Pigeon Munch and Chili, which is going to have massive connotations on the race, because Alfie, look at that, already right on the back of him, and I think that could be it for Nico. He's going to have real challenges to overcome and a lot of defending to do for the rest of this race. But wow, the battles out front at the moment, absolutely brilliant. And Ronha actually already pulling out of the slipstream, a little bit weird there. I don't know whether he's letting Martin just know he's there or not. But yeah, this is really good to see. Will Ronha have the pace on the restart? We've had driver feedback from Caesar saying that it was incredibly hard to drive on those hard tyres out there today. So we'll just have to see if these drivers can keep all four wheels on the track and the car pointing the right way.
Yeah, Nico as well has managed to overtake Pigeon Munch as well. Alfie going deep into turn 4, leaves it late on the brakes and makes his way around the next right, trying to go ahead here of the Sauber. Oh no! Connor, I gotta say, took a near detour off the track after coming into contact with Pigeon Munch, and Pigeon Munch as a result, I think he's got damage. Here comes Raceway looking to gamble with obviously Connor taking that touch off Pigeon Munch, but still nevertheless, Raceway stays on the track. Connor now up into P8 now as well. Here at the restart. I cannot believe what we've just seen. Chili now is trying to garner here on Ronha. He's within 0.2 of a second. It's getting hairy. Here comes Martin. Viper in the lead now ahead of Lurch. Martin's done the same. It's all coming to fruition now. Viper on top, in behind Martin as well. Absolutely pandemonium. Welcome to Bahrain.
God, do we expect anything less from this track? It is absolutely brilliant, and Lurch has now just got to try to defend from Ronha as best he can. I mean, this is really difficult for Lurch now for the rest of this race, because he's just going to be a sitting duck through most of the corners, and then he's just going to be overtaken with DRS on the main straight, which is now enabled. So Ronha actually having to use ERS to make this move. He's just giving a little squirt of it just so he can get the move done under braking. He knows he has more grip, and he does make the move down into turn 1. And Chili was trying to follow through again. Chili's making a couple of cheeky moves today. You'll love to see it, but not quite paying off that time.
Oh,
and Alfie's off. Alfie's off.
Alfie's off. Alfie is certainly off. He's rejoined. He's okay, but I have to say he's lost a few places, and Alex Daegu has taken him as well. Pigeon Munch is out of the race as well. Further out, Chili getting so close. You made a comment earlier on saying he's making some cheeky moves. In my opinion, he's making the right moves here. He's getting right in the midst of the battles and really starting to try and pump his car around this track, looking for a way through. But I have to say, what a visit here from the youngster in his first appearance in a top tier event, as you now see the Ferrari of Nico getting very close and personal with the Black Arrow.
He's going to want to make the move as best he can here. This will be interesting. But I think Nico, he's got a little... Well, I don't know. This is going to be really interesting to see, because it just depends how quickly they can all pass Lurch, whether they can keep on to a form of lead battle. But it's top 3. They're starting to pull away a little bit of a gap. I tell you what, Lurch's pace is pretty good. Oh, it's a big mistake from Martin. Mistake from Martin coming out the penultimate corner. This could give Ronha a chance. Ronha, I think, just having to weave a little bit there. Maybe even slow his closing speed without having to touch the brakes. And in that case, very clever. So he doesn't hit the back of Martin, because he knows now he's got DRS. And you know who doesn't? Martin doesn't. And this should be a pretty simple move on balance. Martin not even... Well, he's actually using ERS, which is quite interesting. I thought it would be a pretty bog standard move. Could he be under pressure from Lurch even? Under braking. No, Lurch does not. Oh, it's contact! Contact from behind. Chili's hit Lurch into Martin. And that is absolutely massive. Nico was ghosted as well. I think implying there might have been a bit of contact there. Wow. Absolutely massive.
Yeah, that is absolutely 0.2 of a second the deficit. Alfie now has overtaken Connor, but Chili now, has he got wing damage? Is that going to cause a problem with the downforce? So all the end plates look intact as they're now rounding the winding sector, certainly heading through turns 5, 6 and 7. There you can see Nico as well, right in behind the Mercedes, almost giving Chili a push around the bend. And once again, Lurch looking like he really is struggling with the car right now after going round at turn 1. It's cost certainly a lot of time between that of turns 4 and turns 3, and naturally that's going to upset the apple cart, certainly, as now we see Chili with the DRS open. He's going to go for the move this time on Lurch, down the inside, heading into turn 11 as they rise up through the elevation. Exquisite stuff here from the Black Arrow, and he does look in fine fettle. Nothing wrong with the car, looks certainly in good shape, and now he needs to close back on his teammates.
Nico's hit him, and the spun there round Nico. I think he's just basically underestimated how much grip that Lurch had, and he's just ploughed into the back of him. That's a really weird move from Nico, and really unlucky as well for Lurch. And yeah, I think we were saying just how lucky Chili was to get away with no damage there. But God, that was, I think, Nico and Lurch's race almost early over. Lurch coming into the pits. I think he's very much done with those tyres now.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, Alfie late on the brakes, touching Raceway as well. And Alfie looks like he's a man on a mission right now because, of course, remember, he went for a spin. But look, he's gained an almighty number of places there, certainly. And he might take a chunk out of Raceway here coming down into turn 4 as they make their way around this right-hander. Raceway running wide. An excellent opportunity here for the Alpine to gain a little bit of traction as they wind through now this twisting part of the track in Sector 1 into Sector 2. And certainly no move could be made there from Alfie, but they're getting very, very tight indeed. But certainly the way things are strung out right now, it certainly seems to me that Viper's been given the helping hand that he's needed. With the battling going on in behind between Ronhar and Martin, it's allowed that McLaren to go out clear by 1.5 seconds.
This is absolutely perfect for Viper at the moment. I think he does have the check on Ronhar for the most part, or at very least they're incredibly even on pace. So that's a difficult half a second to close in. And I think Martin's probably the quickest of the three, but very frustratingly for him, at the back of the train. So he has got a lot of work to do and not a lot of laps anymore to do it. He's got to make light work of these guys if he wants to win this race. But Chile, he's only 2 seconds back. Let's see what he'll be able to do. He's coming under pressure from Raceway, I think, from this lap onwards, especially with no DRS himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Raceway looking extremely racy, should we say, with the DRS open now. And he's closing at a rate of knots, only half a second the deficit once again as they break now at the 100, coming down into turn 1, and the Red Bull and the Mercedes once again coming together, and they will fight, they will battle. Medium tyres here for Raceway. DRS opens up again. Chile is recharging his DRS right now as they head down towards turn 4. No opening for an overtake there for the Red Bull, but he might get a chance out of turn 10. Heading down the stretch towards turn 11, we'll have to wait and see. Amazingly enough though, Bradley, very, very interesting to see. Only 2 penalties out on the active circuit right now. Alfie and Nico, a relatively clean race in that aspect, if you've given the amount of drivers that are still racing right now. 12 drivers out, only 2 of them have got penalties. That means 10 drivers who are live racing right now with no penalties to boot, and none in the top 5.
Yeah, I tell you what, to an extent, that could be a testament to how much drivers are fearing the curbs on this game. There's not that desire to run out as wide as you normally would. It's interesting to see. Honestly, going into this, I'd have thought at least half the grid would pick up a penalty. Like, we're early in the game cycle. We've got, obviously, I think we've got the default setups as well, so I really did think we'd be seeing a lot more of it. Interesting to see, but Raceway, he thinks he's got the check on Chile. Let's see if he does down into turn 1 in just a moment's time. He's going to have the DRS. He has an advantage of ERS. Chile's only got 10%. He's got nothing to play with at all. Chile giving a little bit of a weave, but he knows there's absolutely nothing he can do to stop the march of Raceway, as he's now going to have his eyes forward as the gap between Ronhart and Viper has extended even more. Goes a little bit deep into turn 1, but he does recover it fairly well and then straddles the curb through turns 2 and 3 with no difficulty at all. Now he's just got to keep his eyes forward and close into that top 3.
Yeah, a little mistake from Chile there. Opened the door for Alfie to take that P5 away from him as well. So Chile losing a very hefty 2 places in that exchange. Lurcher's now gone up into P9 with Alex Daegu in the pit. But crucially further up, not forgetting, oh my word, Alfie with a major lockup around turn 8, nearly colliding with Raceway yet again. He's leaving it really late on the brakes here. Certainly the Alpine, and pushing with everything he's got. I can understand it. Remember, he's on medium tyres and they will eventually die. So he's trying to get his money's worth now while he's got him as he makes his way down towards turn 11. Yet again, he needs to stay within DRS of WR Raceway if he wants to have a good chance at this 4th place. Raceway, of course, on medium tyres as well, so it's going to be a very tough ask, certainly for the pair of them here, to certainly try and get that deficit time closer than what it already is. As now we're also seeing a battle for P2 with Martin bringing it once again into the half a second mark now as they come around the final corners. There you can see in the background Chile being closely followed by WR Connor, who's also got medium tyres on. A rear wiggle there from Alfie, and that will allow maybe Chile to come back at him here. But Raceway with the fastest lap, he is absolutely flying right now, and certainly as Tyrrell Martin makes his way around turn 1, he might yet himself get a chance at P2 yet again. The Mercedes powering down with DRS open. Still though, Ronhart getting a better exit out of turn 3, heading into turn 4. Martin has no answer for P2 just yet, maybe content with staying in behind and just recharging his ERS.
Importantly, we still do have, well, 10 and a bit laps to go here. Oh, and it's going to be interesting because Martin has still got a lot to play for. It is by no means over. And looks like Ron Haar's closing the gap slightly from the 2 seconds it was before. Maybe just... It's beneficial for Martin if he just sits back, let Ron Haar try to close that gap down. He knows if they keep fighting, that gap is only going to get bigger and bigger, and it means if he does get that move done, it's going to be even harder because there's going to be a bigger gap that he's got to try to close down. And where's Raceway going to come in all of this? Because in that squabbling, he was 4/10 quicker last lap than Martin was. But this lap, it's been pretty much the same. So I do think for Martin's case at the moment, just let him drive. Just give it a bit. Oh, what's happened?
Alfie's gone. Alfie's got a huge smash out of turn 13. As I said, he's been leaving it late on the brakes all race long, and he's finally had his comeuppance around turn 13, the corner that's taken many on this game, and he's now lost it. He is out of the race, and that is absolutely punishing. And Shazoo Chili now up into P5. He's chasing Raceway, and that is certainly gutting, but that's what happens late on the brakes at a track like Bahrain where traction is so minimal. It's not a great situation to be in, Bradley.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we've seen drivers struggling with it all day today. And I think, yeah, Alfie, he's been pushing the luck. We've been saying how aggressive he's been on the brakes. He's really been pushing it. And then he does. He was looking a little bit loose through a couple of corners, especially on the traction points. And I think it's just come back to bite him eventually. But Connor has used this virtual safety car to his advantage. He's come in for the soft tyres. He's not going to win the race, but this could be quite interesting. He's definitely got a lot to play for now. It'll be interesting. At least fastest lap we're expecting, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely a fastest lap on the table, certainly for WOR Connor. Not many, should I say, on the soft tyres. Obviously, since our very first lurch, actually getting a VSC, speeding in the pit lane under the VSC. So he has got, he's got to have a drive-through, I believe, for speeding under the virtual safety car. So that's not ideal at all. And he's got to give some of that time back as Tyrrell Martin makes his way now up through the latter stage. They're back underway here at Bahrain, and still Viper on top. The deficit now at 1.3 seconds. It's been closed by 2/10 by Ron Haar, who is now starting to push. He knows he needed to get a good getaway, and he's done more than that because he's managed to break a second on Tyrrell Martin, which is massive because the DRS detection zone was just at the end of that straight. So that's gonna give an opportunity here for Ron Haar to break away very smoothly indeed. And now the gaps are all strung out by over a second, and that has worked certainly certainly by magic there for Ron Haar. He needs to try and open up the gap again, heading down towards turn 4 so he can focus on trying to close on Viper. But I think Martin has done or just about got away with it. He's back in contention and does have DRS heading down to turn 4.
Yeah, it was by a matter of, I believe, about a quarter of a tenth. And it was just for a split second. He used an extra burst of ERS down the back straight and was just able to get DRS and sets a purple sector 1 as well. But I think this is all in Ron Haar's court now. We're seeing Viper just trailing off a little bit come at the latter half of his stint here. And does Ron Haar now think that he's got a real chance of winning this race? I mean, I know his confidence, he didn't doubt it for a single second, but it wasn't looking that way when the gap was above 2 seconds for a couple of minutes. No, but he has strung it down. He's got Martin still, though. That's the important thing. I think this top 3 is going to close right up, and we could be in for one hell of an end to this race.
Well, he's well within DRS now, and currently lies at just over 0.8 of a second. So where Viper had a very comfortable sitting place in P1, where he was over a second and a half clear, he has no longer got that deficit, and he's now within DRS range of Ron Haar, which will allow him to attack Tyrrell Martin as well. Crucially, has also come into fruition too. All 3 of them on equal compounded tyres, pretty much. 10 laps for Viper, 11 for Ron Haar, or 12 now for Ron Haar, with 11 for Viper. Martin on a mission. He's managed to scoop up fastest lap on the hard tyres that I'm sure will soon be taken by Connor on fresh softs. But as they round turn 1, Viper very tail happy out of turn 1 as they make their way out of turn 2, down towards turn 4 out of turn 3. DRS opens up for the Haas in behind as well. Look how fast Ron Haar is right now. Absolutely massive pace being shown there by the Ferrari powered Haas car as WO Connor, as predicted, takes the fastest lap of the race, and I'm sure that will not be beat by all those on the medium and hard tyres. But look at this, we got a huge feast of motorsport here, folks. Certainly a huge gamble on the board here for Ron Haar, who managed this race absolutely superbly, is now right in behind Viper, heading around turn 10. A better exit as well. Oh, they touch wheels, but now as they open up the DRS, it's going to be Ron Haar with an opportunity. Looks in behind the McLaren, now. Will he get him even before heading into the final sector of this lap? No chance, he says. He's going to come round turn 12 and turn 13. Ronha in with a chance of P1 glory.
Yeah, and Connor's just spun as well, unluckily for him, and he's lost out to Nico again. But, oh, wow, this is absolutely brilliant battling. And I mentioned at the end of the first stint, Viper just doesn't have the front end. It's got to that stage again, he just can't turn in. The fronts aren't biting for the corners. He's just getting a lot of understeer now, going deep into a lot of these corners. And I think he's in real trouble here. And he really is, because look at Ronhar's closing speed with that DRS. Not even having to use DRS. He makes the move down the inside. Will he make it stick? Viper's going to go for the cutback. He's got the outside line now. He doesn't quite have the drive. And he won't have DRS, but he's going to have the slipstream. Will he use DRS as well? Or will he just sit back and hope that Ronhar doesn't make the gap? And he's got the closing speed. He makes the move down the inside. And look at that as well. Martin wanting to fight, but Ronhar gets the cutback in that Haas car. But he cannot make it stick. And now Viper, he's got a little bit compromised through the S's there. And I think just for now, he might be safe. But not for a lot longer.
Yeah, what racing here between these two. Wheel-to-wheel action right through Sector 1 into Sector 2. And now they're coming on the outset now. Here in the middle stage of Sector 2 now. And there'll be another chance for Ronhar here with this DRS straight in between turns 10 and 11. Lurch with a 3-second time penalty to boot as well. They're starting to come through now. Viper heading around turn 11. He is still in front. He's managed to retake the position off a very, very aggressive Ronhar, who has now got the pace. He certainly is showing it. Heading around the next right-hander now again. He's just better in the corners, is Ronhar. He looks so much better. Viper favouring a lot more straight line speed, but naturally as the grip goes away, that will not help him heading into the apexes. As now we're seeing Ronhar round the final two bends here at turns 14 and 15. Who's bravest? Here with DRS open once again. Ronhar looking to utilise some of that straight line speed. The tyre lives are virtually identical. Is it going to be a late break for the Haas as they head down towards turn 1? He sends it. He can't find it. They're still nose to tail heading out of turns 1 and 2. Still a very, very good opportunity here for Ronhar as they make their way down towards turn 4. Does he want to make it? Heading into turn 4. Very surely Viper still on top. An intense battle, but still 5 laps remain. It's going to go all the way to the end.
Hopefully it does, because it is absolutely brilliant. Ronhar piling on the pressure, and Viper so far deflecting it very well. Big lockup, but he does keep the front end hooked, and he doesn't go too deep. But now we've got a really hard downhill left-hander, massive camber, and he does again. That was actually probably the best Viper's done it for a very long time in this race. Kept going deep recently, but I think it looked a little bit shaky for a moment. Viper might have just slightly adjusted his driving style to compensate a little bit for the lack of front end he appears to have. But Ronhar absolutely piling on the pressure. And Martin's sitting there going, guys, give me a gap, please. He just needs one opportunity to try to sneak through. And he just can't at the moment. It is so frustrating being in that position. And look who's in 4th place. Look who's caught up. Raceway within DRS now of this pack. And there's still another 5 laps to go.
Yeah, I gotta say, this DRS train has worked for many, and certainly Raceway is one of them. With this battling going on, it's opened the doors for many others to come and join the fray. But here comes TRL Martin as well, who's joining on the back of Ronhar. Ronhar going in deep now for a move into turn 1. Outside line here against the McLaren. It's so easy, so simple, but the switch back here from Viper, that was articulate, that was brilliant. Heading out now, down the stretch, the McLaren blazing orange, down the outside, hot like the sun, but not enough. It's Ronhar who's in P1, well executed, absolutely phenomenal, and moves his way up into P1 in cracking style. Viper now into P2. He's got to sit in behind if he wants a chance of victory. Stay behind the Haas, look for another opportunity. You've got younger tyres, let's go for it. What a move there.
Yes, that was absolutely beautiful. And beautiful from Viper to get that cut back, hang it on the inside through turn 2, and it is such a shame it didn't pay off. I think it was so good at the end, it was his downfall, because he wasn't able to get the slipstream, and because Ronhar had that DRS and they were alongside, he had the straight line speed advantage. He had the line going into turn 3, and he's made that work oh so well. And now Ronhar, he's trying to pull out the gap, but 6/10, it's not going to be enough. I don't think, at least. Ronhar's got a little bit more ERS to play with, but I think now Martin is going to want to go. Hang on, Raceway's really close to the back of me here. I think I should start making inroads. he does have a lot of ERS to play with Viper. Honestly, I think Raceway has the most out of the top four at the moment. So this could be fun. Let's see if he can close the gap properly and really get involved in this fight. As Viper's closing, and not quite able to get the move done under braking. Not close enough, but he's going to have DRS now as they fly up the hill, just straddling the curb, hoping the car doesn't get a bit of oversteer as you lose the rear end. It's destabilised. Is he going to go for the move? No, not quite, not close enough. He's going to have to maybe have a 10-4-2 to be able to think about going for the dive.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just waiting in tenderhooks. There could yet still be more drama in this Grand Prix. 3 laps of magic remain here at the Battle of Bahrain, here in this social race. And they call it a social race. It's not very social. It's more that they're going at it. It's almost like a battle for the league championship here with all these 4 that are all so talented. Ronha, of course, who has been at the top of his game for such a long time. Viper as well, who is up there fighting, has actually lost out a little bit of time there. Martin looks more dangerous all of a sudden as they cascade now up through turn 11, very soon making their way through the final sector out of sector 2. It's been absolutely scintillating. I hope you've all enjoyed it at home, folks. I want to hear from you. Who's got this race in the bag? Please put your predictions in the live chat. No excuses for all of you to do it. Every one of you at home watching this race, come and hit us up with your predictions for the final couple of laps of this Grand Prix. Who's going to win this race? Who is your driver of the day? As now we're seeing Viper make his way down the stretch. DRS open yet again. He's going to have another go at Ronha. It's going to be, once again, these two battling for the lead. Here comes the McLaren, blazing again, round the outside, heading into turn 1. Ronha squeezes him a little bit of wheel tapping, but nevertheless, it's still Ronha on top. But for how long? Viper again has the straight line speed. He utilises the overtake and the DRS down the outside, heading into turn 4. Still Ronha on top, though. Excellent defending, excellent tenacity, heading through the weaving section. You can't go too wide here, he says. He gets him. Viper, brilliant Viper. But here comes Ronha again into turn 8. This is so risky. Here comes Martin. Oh my word, Ronha's gone. Ronha is gone. A little bit of contact with Martin to overtake in turn 8 was very brave. It cost him massively, and now he's down to P5. An absolutely audacious move, but at the end of the day, he was punished for it.
Wow. Okay, so brilliant racing, but that's so unlucky for Ronha. That'll leave a bitter taste in his mouth because Martin, he saw the gap, he went for it, but Ronha, he wanted the outside line. So Ronha tries to pull out. Martin just effectively understeers into him. It's so unlucky, but now Martin has got the run on Viper, and let's see if Martin will be able to make a little bit more success from where Ronha just wasn't quite able to that time out. But that was absolutely spectacular racing from Viper and Ronha, as a massive round of applause, because they kept that so clean and gave each other just enough respect.
He certainly did, and Ronha now making his way down the straight. He's going to try and garner his P4 position back. I mean, that's all he could probably hope for in this situation. Chile's managed to benefit in that regard, and now he's sitting in P4 himself as they now make their way. Oh, again, a little bit front happy. The grip on the car is obviously not happy. He might have flat spotted the tyres slightly as well. And as they make their way around the next right-hander, Ronha now braking later. He's going to go for P4 nevertheless. So he's going to fight Chile right to the end as they head their way down through this very twisting section heading into sector 2. P turns 5, 6 and 7, and there you can see Chile there leading him around turn 8 with Ronha now very close in behind. He'll have an opportunity certainly heading down towards turn 11. Who's bravest coming out of this part of the track, because obviously it's the most dangerous part of the track, some say, as they now make their way across the DRS line, activated now from Ronha. Will he make the move as they come down towards turn 11? No, he's going to be patient. He's going to sit in behind. This is lap 28 of 29, folks. We've got one more lap after this one, and again a little bit of a flick of the wrist there from the Haas of Ronha, who now, as we now see a battle going on, I think, between that of Alex Dago and Connor. Connor managing to retake that P6 spot back for the Aston Martin, but already you can see Alex Dago, blimey, there looked to be a little bit of a brake check, a little bit of squabbling going on between these two.
I mean, I know they're quite close off chat as well, I believe, but just having a bit of fun out there at the moment. And Connor, he's got so much more grip. He just wants to make this move and not quite able to do it so far. But look how much more grip he has under braking, effectively pushing that Haas around the corner. He might be able to make the move here, but Ronha's got past Chile, or has he? Because Chile's fighting back. Oh, he's lost the rear through the first corner on the exit. There's not a lot left on those hard tyres. They have pushed them to their max. We're on the last lap of the race now. There is nothing left in them.
No, and here comes WOR. Connor gets the move done into turn 11, and that'll move him up into P6 spot. Certainly the Mercedes-powered Aston Martin on the soft tyres. And yet again, remember, he has the fastest lap of the race so far. Now into P6, runs wide off the track as well. Not sure quite what he's looking to gain by that, I have to say. Very auspicious line as they make their way down towards the final bend. There you can see further up as well, Viper, who's managed to draw out a real advantage. Now he's into the final sector of this Bahrain Grand Prix at WOR. And what an impeccable performance here from the man in the McLaren. He needs to hold it together through the final few bends. TRL Martin still hot on his tail in 7/10 of a second behind that of the McLaren. The Mercedes-powered McLaren, who have now started to taste some really, really phenomenal results in Formula One. Of course, done by Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, but you can add Viper to the name as well. What a drive here by the man who was on pole position, of course, prior. At the end of this race, he wins the Bahrain Grand Prix with WR Raceway coming in P2, as well as, TRL Martin dropping down into P4. I believe that was a penalty. And WR Raceway taking P2 with Ron Har in P3. What a phenomenal race. Scenes here at the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Absolutely. Yeah, Martin slowed down at the end, I think, to give Ron Har back that podium. And that is, massive respect for that, because obviously, he knew that was his fault. I don't think that would be really debatable. He understeered into Ron Har. But, oh my god, that was absolutely brilliant from Viper. What a drive. And Raceway as well pick up P2. He'll be more than chuffed with that. He didn't quite get it on pure pace, but I think he will not be too chuffed. He won't be too snobby at that number at all, because a P2 is very, very good here. And I'd say the best of the alternate strategy. That's the best that they were able to manage. Connor, a couple of spins, very dramatic race. He's going to come across the line. And Digu, that's a unique line. Going through the final corner. But wow, what a race. The battling throughout was just absolutely incredible, and for the most part incredibly clean.
Absolutely, it was very, very good racing. Unfortunately, we lost many due to DNFs as well. And incredible stuff as I pick up a little reward for spectating an online race. It's very nice indeed. There we go, Alex Dagu picking up apparently driver of the day as well. So congratulations to him as we now take a look at the results as well for this phenomenal race. It's been absolutely tremendous. And there, of course, is your victor, Viper, who I have to say put in some extraordinary performances. He looked like he was right up against it with the battles with Ron Har. Ron Har looked to have the race in the palm of his hand with an excellent move, or a brave move, heading out of turns 1, 2, round turn 4, and then of course it all unravelled out of turn 8, where of course he came together with TRL Martin. Martin, though, doing the noble thing and allowing him through. There, of course, in behind was the co-conspirator for P2 as well. We will go through the final results as well, folks, take you through what happened at the end of that race. Viper is, of course, your winner. He, of course, takes P1 for the McLaren team. WR Raceway, what a drive. P6 on the grid up to P2. What a driver to watch he will be this season. Ron Har in P3. TRL Martin in P4 with Shazoo Chili. What a drive. P7 to P5 on track as well. Incredible stuff. WOR Connor in P6. Massive P16 all the way to P6. Alex Dagu up 10 places as well. WR Nico P5 down to P8. Silas into P9. Choco in P10. We unfortunately lost several others though. Lurch also a DNF, as well as Alfie, Pigeon Munch, TRT Caesar, Flying Rozzy, Jonas, Humperdinck, Shuey, Desi, Matthew Reese. They will round off the rest of the field. But what an extraordinary race, folks. I have to say, what a start, Bradley. Incredible way to get things going here on Xbox. But Viper, we said before, he seems comfortable on the game. I think that is what effectively won him this race today.
Absolutely, it was such a good drive. It looked for a period like it was going to be a little bit shaky. The front end was definitely, well, I don't know whether his driving style didn't quite suit it as the tyres wore on a little bit. But wow, that was just, it was so smooth again, so composed at the end. And some really good battles with Ron Har as well. He kept it so clean. And I think, obviously Martin and Ron Har weren't able to do that, and neither of them won the race. So I think that was to an extent key today. He just lost no time. Or no unnecessary time, I think it's slightly better to say. But yeah, that was a really good race. And I think, unfortunately, safety car did sort of rob us of an alternate strategy push. But I don't think we can take many complaints from that race. It was very good.
No, we had plenty to be cheerful about. Certainly, the battling there was absolutely tremendous. All the guys leaving it on the line. Despite it being a social, they wanted to go out there and put on the best performance possible. Obviously, nothing better than starting off in a new game where you feel like you're quick, building up that confidence with some really, really, really awesome moves. And we saw plenty of them as well. Lots of them utilizing the pace of the cars, utilizing their use of the apexes, and managing their cars and their strategies to perfection as well. I would argue and say that Ronha maybe was the better strategist on the day, but maybe Viper better in terms of outright pace and also finding the apexes on the circuit. It certainly seems to me that the handling model probably reflects better in that drive from Viper. I think though from Ronha's perspective, a well-managed race, and certainly managed to utilize maybe those tyres which seem to hold a more substantial level of grip than what Vipers did towards the end. And I think that was the factor that led to those two battling as well. But Tyrrell Martin looks like he's using his experience to his advantage. He's going to be a massive driver for this season. Naturally, those three, I can see them, all of them being a figurehead in the battle for the championship. Of course, we've got many others that we haven't seen yet as well, of course, being the first social race we've seen here on the Xbox side in WOR. But based on that, can we say that those three are quite possibly the main drivers to look at heading into the first race of the championship?
I think you'd have probably said yes going into it, and I wouldn't have changed my mind after tonight, because they all showed exceptional pace, exceptional composure. And if it wasn't for just a little bit, it was basically understeer. That's the only thing that went wrong for Martin in that race, and Ronha ultimately as well. And apart from that, they drove absolutely fantastic races. And I do think there's not many drivers out there who are going to be able to beat performances like that, if we're being brutally honest.
No, not at all. I have to say, it was absolutely brilliant. I don't think we're going to see any interviews here for today, folks, but I have to say it's been absolutely scintillating from start to finish to watch this race. I hope you all enjoyed it at home. And, of course, it's been a pleasure to bring you some of the content, some of the most incredible maneuvers that we've seen, of course, and some of the best action you've ever seen. Esports has taken such an incredible rise over the last couple of years. We've seen league racing come from step to step and improvement after improvement. Of course, WOR starting to really find its feet and really build a foundation for great racing here on the Xbox platform, as well as the PC platform, and now PlayStation 4 as well. We can look forward to a very, very extraordinary season and more social races to come as well. So do not go away. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the like button on this broadcast. And of course, we want to hear from you. Please feel free to leave your comments in the chat window. We want to hear exactly what you think of what you've seen here in this extraordinary race. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts on Twitter as well. Remember, it's at WOR League. That is the World Online Racing Twitter account. You can also tweet me. I'm at George Morgan TV, and you can ask me anything you like as well as my man next to me as well, Bradley Chapman. Am I right in saying that?
Chambers.
Chambers. Bradley Chambers, not Bradley Chapman. Close. Got the CH in
that's fine.
Yeah, Bradley Chambers as well. And what's your Twitter handle there, Bradley?
At VSG_beacon. DM's open all the time, and always happy to talk to anyone on there.
Yeah, there you go, folks. So I have to say, what a pleasure it has been to bring you such an amazing race. We'll see you next time, though, I'm sure, for more action. Today, surely, it was Viper who took the